The purpose of Wealth Talk is to educate, inform, and hopefully entertain you on the subject of building your wealth. Wealth Builders recommends you should always take independent financial, tax, or legal advice before making any decisions around your finances.
Welcome to episode 180 of Wealth Talk. My name is Christian Rodwell, the Membership Director for Wealth Builders, and I'm joined today by our founder, Mr. Kevin Whelan. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, Chris. Right on target today, 180.
I know, we are motoring into the new year that it is, and we kicked off this new year with a wonderful episode last week. That was with Abby, and her company is Elent, and we talked about bringing financial education into schools, something that we're going to be focusing on a lot around the teaching children about financial literacy this year.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And Abby did a great job, and of course you blended it naturally into a wonderful interview with a great friend of Wealth Builders, Mr. Neil Moggan.
Yes, that's right. Neil has become a good friend since joining us just over 2 years ago, actually, in the Wealth Builders Academy. And Neil and his wife, Katie, have really been pretty much unstoppable since the day they joined. And Neil also was instrumental in helping us get the Wealth Builders for Families program kind of initially conceptually put together. And now we've taken it over, Kevin, and we'll be releasing that in Q2 of 2023. Yeah,
and what's interesting for me is it's not like... Neil's journey is a great journey to comment on, and I'm sure you'll do a good job of pulling out some of the threads of that in your interview with him. But when you think about the fact that it's only a couple of years, and in a pandemic, there's just some, and he didn't have a fortune of money, and he had a full-time job. So it's not like in the leverage piece we talk about the bookends of leverage is. What finance do you start with? And some people think finance is key to building wealth. I hear that all the time. Well, I haven't got enough money. Well, it's resourcefulness, not resources that count. And I haven't got enough time. Yeah, but if your reason why is strong enough, if the catalyst is strong enough. And Neil reveals his catalyst. And I think it's definitely one that showcases that if you've got a strong enough reason why, you'll overcome anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we'll be going through the steps that we teach inside the Wealth Builders Academy today with Neil, the steps that everyone has to follow, Kevin, if they want to move from a place of financial insecurity through to financial independence. We know this is a tried and tested route.
Well, it works. And, we know there's always skepticism, and I get that. I like skepticism, actually. It's kind of fun. It's a bit like being a comedian on stage. You start to giggle because you know how funny you're going to get. You know what the audience is going to expect. And I know when people are skeptical that they're going to be transformed. And this is the whole point about wealth. It's a journey of transformation of self, of finance, and of ultimately the destination of the family. And you never know where you're going to go. And it's an interesting one, isn't it? That people start off with one idea and then they flip and they change for good thing, not for a bad thing, generally speaking. And Neil is evidence of that. So, looking forward to all the nuggets you pull out of that.
Yeah, we love hearing our members' stories, and that's the reason why we do this. So let's head on to our conversation today with Mr. Neil Moggan. Neil, welcome to Wealth Talk today. How are you?
Hi, Christian. Hello, everyone. Great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. And you've been on the podcast before, Neil. We were talking a while back about your teaching background and, the support you were providing for the Wealth Builders for Families program. But today we are focusing on you and just you. And it's the Member Spotlight, where we look at your progress since joining the Wealth Builders Academy. And you joined with Katie, your wife, and probably hear about how she got involved as we go through today. And as always, we're going to follow the 9 steps of our recurring revenue roadmap. And there's 3 stages to the roadmap. You've got stage 1, which is all about building confidence, stage 2, which is building your knowledge, and stage 3, which is building assets. So are you ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it. Do this.
All right. So Neil, let's take it back. I think it was November 2020. I remember a phone call we had with Kevin, right? And maybe you can share a little bit about how that came about, and what was your reason for deciding to join Wealth Builders?
Yeah, well, I think for a lot of people, lockdown was a chance to reevaluate their lives, and for me, that was definitely the case. And I remember sitting at the start of lockdown, a lot more time on my hands, thinking about kind of the first half of my life, really reflecting on. I'm 41 now. I'm thinking, right, I've loved being a PE teacher. I've loved that. But where does the next kind of second half of my life really lead to? And likewise, the 2008 financial crisis, I remember sitting in my staff room and thinking this hasn't affected us as teachers, but then a couple of years later, kind of our money being affected, our salary being affected, and it hasn't really improved a lot since. And also, I was doing an NLP tutor training course around that time at the start of lockdown, and that really nailed down my purposes in life. So I had 4 purposes, and that was firstly to be a great dad to my 2 kids and a great husband. Secondly was to help transform people's life chances, which I feel really passionately about. The third one was to enjoy my life through sport, traveling, and excellent relationships with friends and family. And then the fourth one was to create financial assets so that we can concentrate on the first 3. So I really got into financial literacy at the start of lockdown. I was really thinking a lot about maybe there could be a recession coming, the impact on people's mental health as well. And there were 2 areas I was really kind of digging deep and getting experience about. And I was doing a lot of searches on the internet, and I came across Kevin Whelan's book, The 7 Pillars, and that had a really transformational approach on my kind of financial literacy and what I wanted to do. So that was why I got involved with Kevin, and we had a few chats, and I remember writing a blog around how poor financial literacy is in schools, and tagged Kevin in, and we got talking, and kind of the rest is history, shall we say.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's important at the very beginning to really get clear on what your reason why is. So for you, I know family, such a strong reason, as you said, more freedom to be that creative person that you are. And we do the wealth dynamics assessment as part of step 1 as well. So what was your result, and what did you make of that?
So it was spot on, to be honest. I was 56, 12, 16, 16. So that makes me like heavy on the creator side. I'm also secondary profile is mechanic, which is all about tweaking and improving what I do. And that's really come across with the P departments that I've built over the last kind of 12, 13 years. And then on the other side, a little bit of STAR. So it fitted in well, and it gave me real clarity about how I wanted to build my wealth, really.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move to step 2 of the roadmap, and we call this the foundations. This really just reviewing money that's coming in and out of your life every month. We have a process called debits as well, and in which we teach our members, but also the 5 levels of wealth. So getting really clear on what those milestones are. And can you remember what level you were at when you joined back in 2020, Neil?
Yeah, certainly. So we were definitely at financial insecurity. We had a little bit of money coming in from a kind of an accidental like property that we had on top of our own home, but we were definitely financial insecurity at that point.
Yeah. Okay. And reviewing debits, were there any areas in particular that stood out that you could squeeze some extra hidden money from?
Yes. So I was investing a lot of time in the evenings at this point, really digging deep into my education. I kind of got challenged my wife. My wife sorts out all our bills in our house. So I challenged her to see if we could make some wins on the debits. And she managed to save £200 per month, which isn't huge, but there was a much bigger win to be had because she came down later on that night saying she'd signed up as a unique presenter, and that created an additional income stream for us, which was fantastic and gave her a real lease of life. And it also brought her into the Wealth Builders program so that she became a lot more kind of involved and interested. She was quite skeptical at first when I said we were spending this money on this Wealth Builders program, but very quickly she became part of the program, and we really kind of came together as a couple and worked. And she's been fantastic for developing our kind of property portfolio over the last couple of years.
That's great. So over, nearly £2,500 per year extra savings there, but also making additional money as well, which is what the debits process is all about. So very good. All right. Step 3 then. So final step in our foundational phase is called the roof. And really important that all members go through to make sure they have a secure roof in place to protect themselves and their assets. And what did you find out as you went through this process, Neil?
So we've got a lot to thank Wealth Builders for, because we've got 2 young children, married, houses, but we didn't have a will in place. We didn't have powers of attorney. We didn't have trust funds. We didn't sort out tenants in common for ourselves. So we were really putting it off and off and off, thinking, we'll get round to that, but never really getting round to it. But through going through the Wealth Builders program, it really kind of simplified the language, it really gave us a great understanding, really helped us be able to take action. And it also led to wider discussions in my wider family, so that we were more aware of what to do in a worst case scenario, so that we've just got that peace of mind, really. So we've got a lot to thank Wealth Builders for there.
Excellent stuff. Okay, so strong foundation in place. We move into stage 2 of the roadmap. This consists of assets, leverage, and strategy. So step 4, assets. So the 7 different assets, Neil, and we call them pillars, as you well know, to build your wealth. Which did you already have in place when you first joined? And what other pillars have you been able to utilize since?
So, like I said, we had accidental property, really, but Kevin's 7 Pillars book was fantastic. So it really kind of helped me kind of work on each of the 7, apart from pensions, because I'm a teacher, I can't touch that. But that was a real kind of fantastic starting point for us in terms of thinking, right, how do we go about improving our wealth situation?
Excellent. So from 2 pillars when you joined to pretty much 6 now. We'll hear about those in a second then. So leverage next. So really key, once you've identified what are the pillars you're going to focus on, then you need to know where is your leverage coming from. Now, leverage is key to wealth building. It isn't necessarily always financial, but it could be intellectual, relationships, systems, and leveraging your time. So can you provide us, Neil, with an example of how you've brought leverage into play to help you build your wealth?
Yeah, so we didn't have masses of financial leverage like we hear some people sometimes come on here and talk about. So we did release equity from our house to get a second HMO, but we had to be creative. We had to look at the intellect and kind of. I had 19 years of experience of teaching in schools. In my school, like I said, we have 13-year life expectancy difference depending on what side of the main road children are born on. It's doing some really interesting work around reducing obesity and improving mental well-being. So I took that intellect, what I was doing on a daily basis, and created an online teacher training course as kind of my first business. And that's been great for testing things quickly and innovating. Also with the relationships, I'd already had a wide network of school colleagues, and that's helped massively with building my business Future Action. And then with the property portfolio, my wife, father-in-law is a builder and her brother's a builder. My brother-in-law is also an estate agent. He's got a really successful estate agency down in kind of Hertfordshire way. So tapping into that kind of relationship has been absolutely vital for helping us grow and have the confidence to do what we've done. And then in terms of systems, I've tried to use technology as much as possible to save me time. So stuff like Calendly, stuff like Kartra, ChatGPT, scorecard marketing, I've all tried to use those systems to try and make my business as efficient as possible, and to save me time. Because obviously time, I was outside of lockdown, I was teaching full time, trying to grow a business at the side. And that was limited, but I've found the time because I care so passionately about this and creating kind of the opportunities for my children that I really want to provide for them.
Yeah, great examples of leverage there. So, chosen your pillars, you found your points of leverage. That moves us to step 6, which is choosing your strategy. Now, you talked about, leveraging your home there, which is great. Pillar 1, pensions, not so much. Pillar 2, but investments. What are you able to find a strategy to help you focus a bit more on the investment pillar as well?
Yeah, I didn't have any investments before Wealth Builders, but I kind of started to pound cost average in over time, based on the knowledge I'd learned from the Wealth Builders program and also connections with Manish Kataria. And then with the investments, I also set up children's stocks and shares ISAs for my kids. So in terms of preparing them, hopefully having something for them in the future as well.
Excellent. So the key strategies for you then, Neil, probably within the property pillar and the business pillar, is that fair to say? Yeah,
absolutely. I think initially we started off with a property as a property pillar where we had the biggest impact quickly, and we focus on student HMOs in that area.
Okay, and in terms of business, just tell us a bit more about how's the business set up and how do you generate income from the business?
So we provide online teacher training courses. Our business is all about guiding teachers to reduce students' anxiety, build their confidence, and create sustainable early intervention programs within 90 days. And as it's all online, then kind of that's the way we're utilising technology to save time. I didn't have the time to go into schools and help and deliver it face to face. So it's all online based at that time.
Good. So this moves us into stage 3 of the roadmap, which is building assets. So now you've got your plan in place. It's about turning the wheel of wealth, which is step 7, focus. So when someone's chosen a strategy, the wheel consists of 5 pieces or 5 parts, and that's education, support, connections, due diligence, and then taking guided action. And our wealth coaches are there each month to help you stay laser focused and turn that wheel. So what benefits have you gained, Neil, from following this process and having that accountability?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. In terms of education, I was asking my wife yesterday how we got into student HMOs, and she said I was Googling stuff and worked it out. Spoke to my brother-in-law and stuff. With the business, had some ideas, but obviously learning from you and Kevin was fantastic, or what I call our work experience, or my work experience with you guys, and in terms of seeing how people that are much better than me at doing it were doing it, and then kind of taking those lessons and applying it to my business, really. So those connections were really important, and I learned so much from that. Again, with the property portfolio, in terms of due diligence, that was a real weakness of us. If you look at our wealth dynamics, my wife's a star on the Blaze side of the wealth dynamics. So due diligence was a real weakness for us, but we had some great connections from the Wealth Builders community, people like Russell Melton, Richard Sutton, who helped provide us with deal stackers for our property portfolio. And that's an area where I really feel we've improved a lot on from that. And then obviously had a brilliant coach in Bronwyn, in terms of guided action, who you could always talk through your points with. She's been absolutely fantastic for us, and we love our monthly calls and really nailing down what guided action we need to take each month.
Yeah, no, I love seeing the 10 out of 10s come through every month for the scores for the coaches. So yeah, full marks to Bronwyn and all of our wealth coaches for the wonderful work that they do. Okay, step 8 is results. So successful wheel turn should generate some results. And we encourage our members to track their progress every 30 days. One of Kevin's famous sayings, which I'm sure rings in your head all the time, Neil. And you've got your wealth chart, right? So you can plot your progress up there each month and see how things are going. So let's talk about some results. You mentioned you were at Insecurity when you joined, Neil, and generating how much per month at that time?
So with our property, we were generating about £700 per month.
Okay. And that was the only asset income that you had at that time?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's your monthly asset income, recurring income up to now?
So with the property, it's about £3,000 per month. So we've got a couple of properties since we've joined Wealth Builders with the HMOs.
Excellent. And some business income.
Yeah, in terms of the business income has been fantastic. So that's enabled me to kind of take a sabbatical from frontline teaching and concentrate on that. So there's some fantastic wins there. It's kind of grown from a hobby business into something much bigger, and that's really my passion now.
So you were able to sacrifice for Christmas last year.
Yeah, it wasn't something I intended to do when I joined Wealth Builders. I love my job. I love teaching. I love being in front of classrooms, but it's just kind of the way things have evolved, and I can have a bigger impact. I think I've helped over 500 teachers, over 10,000 children since we've created the business. So I can have a much bigger impact with doing the business rather than being in the classroom every day.
No, I think that's tremendous progress in just over 2 years since joining to now be at £3,000 per month. And how far off are you from your security level, Neil?
So our original security figure was 4,000, but with inflation, we've upped it to 5,000, and then financial independence is at 10,000. I'm just looking to my chart at the right, so it's always kind of very visible for me to kind of keep me motivated and to keep taking action.
Yeah, great. So the final step in our 9-step recurring revenue roadmap is called Accelerate. And by repeating the process of choosing your pillar and your strategy and then your use of leverage, you will move towards a place of financial independence. And for most people, the journey from financial insecurity to financial independence will take about 5 years. What do you see as being key to helping you continue to stay focused, Neil, and take the necessary steps to reach your own goals?
I think obviously having that really strong why is really important, and obviously my why is kind of the reason why I do everything. It's just my family is I want to create a great life for them. Taking action every single day. Kevin has this mantra: take action every 30 days. My mantra is take action every day, and often that's multiple actions. So Wealth Builders recommended The Gap and the Game by Dan Sullivan, and it's a great book, and it's something I do in terms of journaling each day. 3 ways I've won each day, and 3 ways I'm going to win the next day. And that keeps me really focused, and it's a great book. I'd recommend that to our readers, to our listeners.
Oh, that's a really good tip. I guess the final thing, Neil, is, how confident do you feel now that you're on the right path towards, financial security and then to financial independence?
I would say I was 100% before kind of the economic crash. I'd still say we're very confident. It might take us a little bit longer, but I think Wealth Builders has been fantastic. I dread to think the situation we'd have been in as a family if we hadn't done the work over the last 2 years. Obviously, teachers' pay has got probably reduced by 23% in real terms since 2010. There was a figure came out yesterday. So it's really protected our lifestyle and given me the freedom to follow my passions and do what I want to do. And life's just so much more interesting now. I meet some fantastic people like yourself and Kevin and Bronwyn and all the people in Wealth Builders community. That's such a powerful, positive community. And some of the rooms I've ended up in over the last 2 years because of Wealth Builders have just been fantastic. So I've got a lot to thank Wealth Builders for. So thank you. Well,
yeah, likewise to you, Neil. Yourself and Katie have been such shining lights in the Wealth Builders community and continue to be so. And we really, really love having you here. And thanks so much for sharing your journey so far with our listeners today.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure.
Okay, so good hearing all of that again, Kevin. Obviously, we've been part of that as Neil has progressed, but just to hear him recap, it makes you feel so good, right?
Well, it does, and the other thing I appreciate actually is the humility. He says he's got a lot to thank us for, but in truth, he's been the orchestrator of his own ambition here. Him and Katie pulled together. You saw that. Perhaps I mentioned before the interview about skepticism. Katie was skeptical, right? He said, I really think this is the path for us to follow. And she's like, well, maybe. And then gradually, in the use of their understanding of wealth dynamics. And by the way, Chris, it probably makes sense for people who don't know wealth dynamics because Neil spouted the kind of the numbers, the 56, 16, 24, or whatever the number he was. You might want to take a moment to explain those 4 numbers because we ask our members, don't we, to commit their numbers to memory because it shows them the 4 different scores they get in each of the different wealth dynamics. Do you mind just explaining the 4 different areas just so people get that, so they didn't just listen to Neil say what his is, and mine's 56, 36, 44, and yours is?
16, 32, 36, 16.
There you go. So yours is quite easy, isn't it? And so, when you know what that means, when it just rolls off the tongue, it just doesn't mean anything. So why don't you explain that?
Yeah, sure. So Wealth Dynamics was created by Roger Hamilton. It's an assessment, consists of some questions, which we have all of our members take this assessment when they join us. And it gives you an output. And there's 4 main wealth frequencies. And these, really kind of relate to personality and where we are most in flow, so things we should be focusing our time on. And those 4 different frequencies are dynamo, blaze, tempo, and steel. So dynamo frequency is that creative place, that space where people are always coming up with new ideas. They're wanting to start new businesses. And those people are great. We need these ideas, but often they're coming up with 100 ideas before lunchtime, but not so good at finishing all of them off.
Yeah. This is where I know somebody a bit like that.
Yeah. So then you move round the square to the blaze energy, and blaze are not necessarily the ones right at the beginning of the creation, but they're really, really good at taking that idea and knowing who the right people are to start putting that together, bringing that idea to life. So they're all about connection. They just love the energy of working with others. Once you've got the team in place, then you're moving round to the bottom of the square, which is the tempo energy. So tempo is all about timing and just getting things done. So they're quite sensory. They're aware of what's going on around them. And they're the opposite of the creators. So they're taking one of those ideas and saying, all right, let's just focus on one thing. Let's get this done.
So once you've got things working, you've got all the team in place, then the final piece of the puzzle really is focusing on the details. And this is where the steel energy comes in. So people who are high steel just love looking at spreadsheets, numbers, processes, systems. How can they tinker? How can they improve and just make the whole thing work even better? So when you've got all of those 4 frequencies working together, you've got a brilliant team. And most importantly, you've got trust amongst that team.
Brilliantly explained. And, it's there's often opposites, isn't there? And you heard Neil say, with his creativity, which is the dynamo, which was 56, which is pretty high, but the due diligence, which is steel energy, they were a bit light on. And that's often the way, which is why when we're looking to build our wealth, we're rarely a perfect square. We're usually tilted in some direction. So mine is the combination of dynamo and blaze, isn't it? So it's very strongly creative, very strongly connected. So I would say the 2 things I love to do is to create and connect. And that's a reflection of who I am and what I do within the Wealth Builders kind of ecosystem, isn't it, really? So that's my role as the visionary, as we call it, within Wealth Builders. And I'm perfectly suited for it. But sometimes people get caught up like a square peg in a round hole, that they can do things, but they don't love it. They don't really enjoy it. But that was interesting. So thanks for the explanation, Chris. And just talking about enjoying things, sometimes you can enjoy things, but they're not really wealth building. There's so many people who love what they do. The work they do is in perfect sync with their wealth dynamic, but it isn't wealth building. It's trading time for money, and it will ever be that way. And consequently, with rising taxes, rising inflation, uncertain economies, and all the doom and gloom that's out there, it's tougher to save your way to wealth. You have to use leverage and be willing to come outside of your comfort zone, which is kind of made me think about Neil again, which he said, it's not that I wanted to give up teaching. I didn't. I love teaching. But now he's impacting so many teachers that impact so many more children. And I think that's a powerful thing to consider. The impact you have and the impact you're making on whatever is that's important to you, whether it's environmentally a key thing for you, whether it's, making a social impact, whether it's green energy and, doing things this way, whether it's to impact a certain group of people for whom you have this very strong resonance. All sorts of things we see as people build their wealth, Chris, and then start to veer towards the things they become passionate about. And we saw that with Abby last week, and we see it with Neil this week. And of course, we're a reflection of that because we have an ambition which we obsess about, which is to help as many people as possible take steps forward to becoming completely financially independent. And we know there's never been a more important reason to want to do that than right now.
Yeah, and we know that purpose is really important to Neil. We heard that. And of course, also the first step of building wealth is really knowing your why and having that catalyst. And Neil mentioned reading a copy of your book, Kevin, 7 Pillars, which definitely sort of helped him open his eyes, I suppose, to the importance of diversifying across as many assets as possible. So for anyone who perhaps hasn't had the privilege of downloading and reading that, Kevin, I'll just point people in the direction of wealthbuilders.co.uk/ebook. It's a really quick and easy read, Kevin, which, we get so much great feedback. And we've actually, nice little segue here, had a review on Trustpilot about the book as well, Kevin. So I'll read this one out. This says, The 7 Pillars of Wealth free ebook. This is a book you can read in 30 minutes. However, I am sure, like me, you will keep coming back to it. The book to me is a rich dad, poor dad on steroids. It will challenge you and really get you thinking. The C5 on the M4 analogy is excellent. Download it, read it, consume it.
Very nicely said. Do you know, I love the little nuggets of wisdom that come from our reviews, because it shows that the work that we're doing is impacting in the way they think. And I like that. And a few people have said to me, this is kind of rich dad, poor dad, but in a UK style, with UK tax law and with UK assets and with UK language. And sometimes, although obviously Rich Dad Poor Dad is a seminal book, and definitely one that everybody should read. I think, half an hour read as an introduction to how to build wealth. Well, and it's free. Why not? Why not do that?
So obviously, at the end of the day, it's all about results. It's about building a better life for yourself. That's what we're helping people to do. And those results don't necessarily have to be all about money, Kevin. It's about the confidence. It's about the connections. It's about the knowledge. But Neil has made some fantastic progress in terms of recurring income. Just over 2 years, from £600 to now generating £3,000 a month. And that, of course, is building with his business and with the property portfolio and all the other things that Neil is now focusing on.
Yes, and this is why it's important, isn't it, to keep measuring the progress you're making, and to see the steps that you're taking. And, it's funny. Again, Neil's giving me my own lessons back at you, Kev, isn't he? Mm-hmm. He's saying, and you mentioned the standard kind of Kev mantra is never let 30 days go by without doing something positive to help build your wealth, whether that's reading a book, whether that's attending a seminar, whether that's, doing something that you can say, I did that. You're not going to measure a result in income, because in the same way as, planting seeds, you don't get the result the same day you plant seed. You need to give that time. And he said, never let a day go by. I mean, crumbs. If you could do that every single day, we do that every day. It's our business, our life, it's our mission. But if people could do something every day, crumbs, you could accelerate yourself massively. But as it is, one thing a month will get most people to financial independence within 5 to 7 years. And I think 5 to 7 years worth of a changing view and a changing pattern of activities, changing your habits, changing your mindset. It's not a big price to pay to be financially independent forever. And what Neil said was, when he talked about his 4 different outcomes, the 4 different goals that he had, although he said goal number 4 was to focus on the wealth, if you heard what he said and think about that 4th point, which was, I needed to focus on my wealth, because by doing so allowed all the other 3 to happen. Because sometimes it's difficult to achieve the other outcomes if you're financially stressed. So I would commend anyone to think about their outcomes for 2023, to, yes, focus on what your long-term picture is, but to do things daily, weekly, or monthly, whatever your cadence is, that will help you start towards building wealth. And don't worry or measure the actual recurring income as the result. Just measure the actions that you're taking. That way you can celebrate the actions. You don't have to worry about whether you're ahead or behind somebody else. And so many people live a life by comparison, Chris, and it frustrates me because we keep saying it's not a sprint. It's a marathon, and building wealth, 7 years is longest it would probably take. 84 months, it's not that long to become financially independent. And everybody's definition is different. As you said earlier on, it's not about just the money. It could be you just want more time to be able to pursue a hobby or a passion or an interest. And actually, a certain level of income is enough for you. That's fine, because you're trying to create life on your terms, not on somebody else's terms. So please don't compare. Just build the life that you want for yourself.
So thank you so much to Neil once again. And if you'd like to join Neil, join Kevin, join me, join all of the rest of our members, and would like to find out if the Academy could help you too, then head to wealthbuilders.co.uk/academy. And you can see exactly what we do inside of there with our coaching, with our education, with our masterminds. And we'd love to see you there. But Kevin, I'll be seeing you same time, same place next week.
Yeah, and we will do, my friend. But hopefully we're both spluttering just a touch, aren't we? So hopefully I'm going to Florida next week, Chris. I'm going to have some golf in the sunshine. I'm fed up with the weather in this country. So just going to have a little break. So I'll be back sometime soon. And until then, my friend, see ya.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget that we are constantly updating our resources inside the Wealth Builders membership site to help you create, build, and protect your wealth. Head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership right now for free access. That's wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership.